Welcome, dear listener, to Jade Fox Tales, where ancient myths become the dreams into which you softly descend. I am most grateful for your company this evening and for the quiet moment you have chosen to spend here. Tonight, we journey to the ancient skies and rivers of China, where great dragons once moved among the clouds, watching over the world below in quiet vigilance. It is a tale of compassion, of quiet courage, and of the gentle yet powerful act of giving where none was offered. For in these old stories, even the mightiest beings are not untouched by the suffering of others, and a single choice made in kindness may alter the course of the world itself. You need not follow each word too closely. Should your thoughts begin to wander, you may let them do so, and if sleep should find you before the tale has reached its end, you may welcome it without concern. The story will continue, whether heard or not, just as rivers continue their patient journey to the sea. Before we begin, let us allow the day to fall gently away. Take a slow breath in and let it go again unhurried. There is no need to guide the breath, only to notice its quiet rhythm. The world beyond this moment may wait. For now, there is nowhere you must be, and nothing that requires your attention. And so, in this quiet interval, we turn gently towards tonight's tale, a story of 4 dragons and of the rivers that came to flow where once there was none. And now, dear listener, let the body rest, let the mind grow still, and allow yourself to drift as the story begins. Long ago, in the vast and ancient lands of China, when emperors ruled beneath banners of silk and the earth was divided into kingdoms of rice field and river valley, there dwelt 4 great dragons who watched from the heavens above. They were not creatures of terror, as some might imagine, but guardians of wind and water, noble beings whose long luminous forms moved like living streams through the clouds. There was the azure dragon, who commanded the eastern skies, the black dragon, deep and thoughtful as midnight waters, the pearl dragon, radiant and swift, and the golden dragon, eldest and most contemplative of them all. From their lofty realm above the clouds, they observed the world below with patient vigilance. One year, however, a grievous drought descended upon the land. Spring came without blossom. Summer arrived without rain. The rivers thinned into narrow threads. Their once mighty currents reduced to whispering trickles between cracked banks. Rice fields lay brittle beneath the sun. Wells ran dry. The cries of thirsty cattle echoed faintly across the valleys. Villagers knelt in prayer, raising incense to the heavens. Farmers gazed upward with weary eyes. Children asked questions their elders could not answer. The 4 dragons beheld this suffering, hovering above the parched plains. The pearl dragon spoke first. "See how the rivers shrink, the people grow weak." The black dragon lowered his long whiskered face towards the earth. "The clouds gather," he said gravely, "yet no rain falls." For it was known that only the Jade Emperor of the Heavens possessed authority to command the rain. The golden dragon, whose scales shimmered faintly like sunlight upon still water, spoke with measured tone. "We must petition the celestial court." And so the 4 dragons ascended higher still, passing through layers of cloud until they reached the gate of the heavenly palace. Radiant halls of jade and gold, where celestial officials moved in orderly silence. There they bowed before the throne of the Jade Emperor and spoke of the drought below. The Emperor listened. At length he replied, "Return to your stations. Rain shall come in due time." Trusting in his word, the dragons withdrew. They resumed their watch over the land. Days passed, then weeks. The sun remained relentless. The soul fractured further. The people's prayer grew faint with exhaustion. The pearl dragon circled low above a village and saw a child faint beside an empty well. The azure dragon glided over mountains where streams had vanished entirely. The black dragon hovered above fields that had turned to dust. The golden dragon, observing all, felt a stirring within his ancient heart, a question not of obedience, but of mercy. "If rain does not fall," said the pearl dragon softly, "there will soon be none left to pray." golden dragon remained silent for a long moment. To defy the Jade Emperor was no small matter. The heavens were governed by order, and order was not to be disturbed lightly. Yet, what is authority, he pondered, if compassion is withheld? At last he spoke. "We cannot summon rain," he said, "but we may carry water." The other dragons turned toward him. Far beyond the eastern horizon lay the vast ocean, boundless, deep, and filled with life-giving water. "If we cannot command the clouds," the golden dragon continued, "we shall gather water in our claws and scatter it across the sky." The black dragon considered the peril of some action. The pearl dragon, ever swift of heart, answered first. "Better to bear punishment than to witness needless suffering." The azure dragon inclined his great head, and so, without further hesitation, the 4 dragons descended towards the ocean. They plunged into its depths, gathering water within their mighty forms, raising once more into the sky. They soared above the drought-stricken land and released shimmering arcs of seawater, scattering it like rain upon the earth below. Again and again they flew, until mist filled the air and droplets fell gently upon waiting soul. At first the villagers gazed upward in disbelief. Then the first true rain began to fall. Children laughed, farmers wept openly. The cracked earth darkened as it drank. Life stirred once more. Yet far above, within the halls of heaven, the Jade Emperor soon learned of what had been done. And though the land rejoiced, the fate of the 4 dragons was not yet decided. For compassion, though noble, does not always pass without consequence. The rain fell for 3 days and 3 nights. It did not descend in violent torrents, nor with thunderous rage, but in steady, life-restoring measure, as though the heavens themselves had softened in mercy. The parched earth opened gratefully. Rivers once reduced to memory began again to murmur between their banks. Shoots of green pierced the soil where only dust had lain. From the skies above, the 4 dragons beheld the renewal of the land. The pearl dragon moved in joyous arcs through the mists. The azure dragon circled the mountain peaks, where streams began once more to tread through stone. The black dragon hovered low over the valleys, listening to the returning song of water, and the golden dragon watched in contemplative silence. "See," said the pearl dragon gently, "how life answers kindness." Yet even as he spoke, the clouds parted not by wind, but by degree. A tremor passed through the heavens. Celestial drums sounded in solemn cadence, deep and resonant, rolling across the sky like distant thunder. From above descended radiant officials clad in robes of white and silver, their faces stern, their bearing unyielding. "The Jade Emperor summons you," one proclaimed. The rain stilled. The dragons did not flee. With solemn dignity, they ascended once more towards the celestial court, their long forms weaving through cloud and light, the earth below shimmering in restored vitality, unaware of the reckoning unfolding above. Within the great hall of heaven, beneath ceilings carved of jade and beams that shimmered with celestial fire, the Jade Emperor regarded them from his elevated throne. His gaze was neither cruel nor indulgent. It was the gaze of one accustomed to order. "You were instructed," he said, his voice calm yet immovable, "to await the appointed time." The black dragon bowed deeply. "We did await," he replied, "but the appointed time did not come." "The suffering below grew grave," added the azure dragon. "The rivers withered, the people weakened." The pearl dragon, ever forthright, spoke plainly. "We could not remain idle." A hush settled over the court. The golden dragon stepped forward at last. "We do not deny our action," he said quietly. "If punishment must be borne, let it fall upon us. Yet know this, we acted not in defiance, but in compassion." The Jade Emperor's expression did not change. "Compassion," he said slowly, "does not absolve disobedience. Heaven is sustained by order. If each being acted upon private judgment, chaos would follow." The golden dragon lowered his head, and yet he replied, "If order silence mercy, what then sustains the hearts of those who dwell beneath it?" The words lingered in the hall like suspended breath. Even among celestial ranks there was unease. For though the emperor's authority was absolute, the truth of the dragon's words could not be wholly dismissed. Still, judgment must be rendered. The Jade Emperor raised one hand. You shall no longer roam the skies, he decreed. You shall no longer ascend at will. For your transgression, you will be fixed to the earth below, bound where you sought to intervene. The court murmured, yet the dragons did not protest. The pearl's dragon's eyes shone faintly, though whether with sorrow or acceptance, none could say. The black dragon remained steadfast. The azure dragon breathed deeply, and the golden dragon bowed once more. If we are to be bound, he said, let us remain where water may yet flow. The emperor regarded them for a long moment. So it shall be. With a motion of divine authority, he summoned 4 immense mountains of stone and pressed them downwards upon the dragons as they descended once more towards the earth. The heavens darkened, the clouds swirled, and with the thunder that shook the firmament, the 4 dragons were fixed beneath the weight of mighty peaks. Yet something wondrous occurred. Where each dragon lay, water burst forth. From beneath the mountain that held the azure dragon, a great river carved its path toward the eastern sea. From the resting place of the black dragon, another river surged with deep and powerful current, and from the pearl's dragon mountain flowed waters swift and bright, and from the golden dragon's place of stillness emerged a river wide and enduring. Thus were born the 4 great rivers that nourish the land to this day, their currents winding like the bodies of dragons across the plains of China. Though bound to earth, the dragons had not ceased their guardianship. They had become the rivers themselves. The people below did know the full measure of the celestial decree. They only knew that the waters had returned, not briefly, but enduring. Fields flourished, villages prospered, generation rose and passed beside the steady flow of dragon-shaped rivers, and in the quiet murmur of water over stone, some claimed they could still hear the breath of ancient guardians, not in lament, but in peaceful vigilance. For though the dragons no longer soared freely among the clouds, their compassion had not been extinguished. It has simply taken root. Years passed upon the earth, as gentle as falling leaves, The people of China came to know the rivers not as miracles newly granted, but as steadfast companions. Children were born upon their banks. Rice fields were nourished by their steady overflow. Boats drifted upon their surfaces, carrying in silk, grain, and a quiet conversation between distant towns. None who tilled the soil or cast their nets into the currents had witnessed the judgment in the celestial court, yet the land bore witness in its own manner. For the rivers did not wander aimlessly, they curved with purpose. They carved valleys with patient strength. They swelled in season and withdrew with wisdom. The elders would sometimes remark in thoughtful tones that these waters behaved less like mere rivers and more like living guardians, watchful and deliberate. In spring, when blossoms scatter upon the currents like drifting parchment, villagers gathered to offer thanks. They burned incense along the banks and bowed towards the flowing waters. May the dragons remain kind, they would say, though few could recount the origin of such words with certainty. Far beneath the mountains that bound them, the dragons remained not in suffering, but in transformation. The azure dragon felt himself in every cool tributary that slipped through the eastern hills. The black dragon moved in the deep, steady pulse of white and shadowed waters. The pearl dragon shimmered in sunlight, dancing across swift rapids, and the golden dragon rested within the broadest current of all, vast, enduring, contemplative. Though their forms were no longer seen in the sky, their spirits were not diminished. They had become motion without wings, strength without display, compassion without a claim, and in this quiet state they discovered a deeper understanding than even the heavens had offered. One evening, many generations after the drought had passed into legend, a young scholar journeyed along the riverbank with scrolls tucked beneath his arm. He had studied the annals of emperors and the movement of stars. He knew of decrees and dynasties, of victories and decline. Yet as he walked beside the river at dusk, listening to its low and steady murmur, he felt that history recorded only half of truth. He paused and knelt beside the water. "What sustains a nation?" he murmured softly. The river answered not in words, but in continuity. It It flowed without pride. It nourished without demand. It shaped stone not by forceful blow, but by patient persistence. The scholar dipped his finger into the current. In that moment he perceived, though faintly, that greatness lies not always in ascent, but often in quiet endurance. Above, the heavens remained ordered as ever. The Jade Emperor observed the turning of ages from his radiant hall. Time had softened even his contemplation. He had not resigned his degree, yet neither had he undone the rivers, for he perceived, perhaps more clearly with each passing century, that the dragon's act had not birthed chaos, it had birthed sustenance. Order had not crumbled, it had deepened, and thus the rivers continued their course, not as rebellion symbols, but as a reminder that compassion, when joined with sacrifice, becomes a force more enduring than authority alone. Travelers who pause beside the waters at twilight sometimes claim to see shapes within the mist, long and luminous, rising only for an instant before dissolving once more into current. Others spoke of dreams in which dragons soared across silver skies, their forms reflected in the winding rivers below. Yet, whether seen or unseen, one truth remained certain. The land flourished, the waters endured, and beneath the mountains that anchored them, the hearts of 4 dragons beat still, not in defiance, but in peaceful guardianship. For they had discovered that to be bound is not always to be diminished. Sometimes it is to become foundation. Centuries unfolded as softly as mist upon the valleys. Dynasties rose beneath banners bright with promise, and in time those same banners faded into memory. Cities expanded along the river banks, their lanterns reflected in evening waters like scattered constellations. Bridges were built of wood, then of stone, then of stronger craft still. Yet through every change the rivers endured. They curved across the land of China as living calligraphy, long flowing strokes written by unseen hands. Farmers relied upon them without question. Poets composed verses beside their banks. Children learned to measure seasons by their swelling and retreat. And though few remembered the full account of the 4 dragons, the spirits of the legend lingered. It lingered in the reverence with which elders touched the water before planting rice. It lingered in the quiet gratitude offered at dusk when nets returned heavy with fish. It lingered in the understanding, seldom spoken aloud, that the gifts most essential to life often come through sacrifice. Far beneath the mountains that held them fast, the dragons rested not in sorrow, but in serenity. The azure dragon felt the laughter of streams as his own breath. The black dragon sensed the depth of midnight waters as the steady heartbeat. The pearl dragon shimmered in sunlight scattering across ripples, and the golden dragon, vast and contemplative, abided within the broadest current, feeling the movement of generations as one feels wind across an open sky. They no longer yearn for the clouds, for in becoming rivers, they had entered into something greater than freedom of flight. They had become continuity. One evening, long after the ritual drought had passed beyond living memory, a child sat beside the river and asked her grandmother, "Why does the water never grow weary?" The grandmother smiled gently and traced a slow circle upon the surface with her fingertip. "Because it remembers," she said. "Remembers what?" the child asked. "That it once chose to give." The child considered this and watched as the current moved around small stones without complaint, shaping them patiently over time. Above, the sky darkened into indigo. Stars appeared one by one, reflected in the winding silver below. High in the celestial court, the Jade Emperor gazed down upon the earth. His authority remained unchallenged. Order remained intact. Yet the rivers, born of compassionate defiance, continued to nourish the realm he governed. He spoke no decree to alter their course, for even within heaven, wisdom grows. And perhaps he understood at last that true order is not weakened by mercy, it is completed by it. Thus the 4 dragons remain, not soaring through thunderclouds, nor coiling among stars, but flowing steadily across plains and valleys, present in every field nourished, in every village sustained, in every life quietly supported by water's gift. If one stands upon a riverbank at twilight, when the wind is still and the sky blushes with fading light, it is possible to sense something vast and benevolent moving beneath the surface. Not a creature to be feared, but a presence to be honored. For compassion, once chosen, does not vanish. It changes form. It becomes a river. It becomes legacy. It becomes the quiet strength that carries a people forward through time. And so, dear listener, as the waters continue their gentle course beneath moonlit skies, remember the lesson borne by the 4 dragons. That sacrifice made for the sake of others may bind the body, yet it frees the spirit to flow forever.